Hello. So, oh my gosh, I'm glad this is open. I'm titling this video "Get to Know Me If You're Interested" because with everything that's going down right now, it is throwing a wrench in my plans. I mean, I don't want to come off as I'm how I'm coming off as right now. But there's a lot of stuff happening. As y'all know, if y'all are alive, probably at this point, regardless of where you are, where you're from. And I'm not here to talk about anything like that. But through the past retrograde, I reached this point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to focus on me and I'm going to do all the stuff that I needed to do because I was diverting too much energy in other places and me not doing it was stopping everything that I knew was coming in. So, hey, Clarinda. So I was doing all the work and stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, I can't sign in to the programs to do my schoolwork anymore. So now I'm not like, what was it all for? But how are you doing today, Clinda? I'm a little sweaty, if y'all can tell. This glow is all natural. She's called movement and big sweaty dudes. um, but yeah, after a few days ago, they did let me sign in. Since I came on live for like 4 hours that night. Um, and I know, right? I should wipe it, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna wait until it dries on my face and my face gets gross. Um, but I think it's because they're shifting everything to online that some of the systems are a little wonky right now. So I was walking in place because if I don't do anything, I get at least 10 minutes of outside, and the sun was actually shining today, so I got more than 10 minutes. And I found that more balancing than I would have ever imagined. But I do have a lot of earth in my chart, so a lot of the schools are being shut down in the States. Does that do something for your skin? Oh no, I just don't feel like washing it right now. And if I'm gonna wash it either way, I can just wash it later. Um, I mean, it would probably be better for my skin if all of the like toxins and stuff being released by the sweat doesn't just like sit on it and then get caked on it, and then some of it gets reabsorbed. But yeah, so I'm walking in place. I'm eating a little better, even though I did have a lot of sugar today. I'm not like this because I had a lot of sugar, but honestly, I might be because I haven't had sugar in a minute. No, I'm not. But um, I was outside. I was walking in place, and I'm listening to music on my iTunes right now instead of Spotify. And my iTunes library has been speaking to me. And one of the songs came on, and it's a guilty pleasure song for me. So I was like, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't even think that I listen to music like this, right? And I was like, I want to talk about it. And so then I was like, I'll just come on and I'll talk about me for a second. So if you have any questions for me, it's like kind of ask me anything, but there's also some stuff I'm going to be talking about just because I guess I'm getting to the point where I need to like talking about myself. Y'all ain't called me all day. I tried to call y'all earlier. Now y'all gotta wait. See, early bird gets the toilet paper. That is an unfortunate reality that we're living in right now, all over the place. Um, but yeah, see, I feel like that was insensitive. I'm sorry. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna talk about me a little bit. If anyone has any like questions for me, personal or otherwise, I will answer them to the best of my ability. If it's a purely personal question, I'll just give you the answer. Unless it's like if it's like personal, like, I'll give you an answer. It might not be the correct answer, and it might not be the answer that you want, but I'll give you an answer. But anyway, I just wanted to come on and talk about me a little bit because I guess I'm getting to that point where I need to like talking about myself. Not that I don't like talking about myself, but I'm much more interested in other people because I already know me. Well, for the most part. Oh, no problem, Clarinda. I mean, I'm not really doing anything, so, you know. But yeah, the song that came on is Evening Wear. And my only guilty pleasure music group is Mindless Self Indulgence. And it's a guilty pleasure because, like, who? It's a guilty pleasure because like the wording of the songs, the songs are a little strongly worded, and I don't necessarily agree with everything they sing about, but they just like do something to me. They like put me in a mood that I don't allow myself to be in, honestly. Um, so that's why they're a guilty pleasure for me. My favorites, Imogen Heap and Frou Frou. Two Door Cinema Club came on. I like them. Not necessarily a favorite. Friendly Fires. I feel like I'm kind of like an indie. And then like Yell, of course. Like if we're talking about French music, if we're talking about what else is there? I listen to some Chinese music, some Korean music, and some Japanese music. I listen to Chinese music because I took Chinese in high school. I listen to Japanese music because anime and video games, and then I took Japanese in high school or at college. I listen to Korean music because I had friends who were into Korean music, and they got me into Korean music. I don't really listen. I don't keep up with any of that really. Um, who else is my favorite? Daft Punk. I like Daft Punk a lot, even though I don't necessarily catch up with them or keep up with them anymore. My favorite movie of all time is Meet the Robinsons, and I just saw it on my birthday, and I saw it at an interesting time because before my birthday, like Keep Moving Forward kept popping into my head. Welcome back. Um, Before my birthday, Keep Moving Forward kept popping into my head. And so I was like, oh, I'll watch Meet the Robinsons on my birthday. And I did. And so I started it on the night of my birthday. So at midnight, I started it, but I don't think I finished it until the actual day. And so then I finished the movie. And in the last scene of the movie, it's not really a scene, but there's a message that pops up before they roll the credits. I believe it's before they roll the credits because I didn't sit through all the credits. And it said something, and it's so funny that Keep Moving Forward was the message that kept popping into my mind. And then I watched the movie, and then I watched Hercules, and one of my favorite songs from Hercules is Go the Distance. And after I finished, Go the Distance had popped into my head too before. But after I finished watching Meet the Robinsons, I was scrolling my home screen on YouTube on my phone, and Go the Distance popped up. And so then I watched Hercules. And so I got Go the Distance and I got Keep Moving Forward. And then things happened that shook stuff up. And so now I'm like, it's interesting that I was getting that and that it kept popping into my head. Keep moving forward, keep moving forward, keep moving forward. And now I can't even move forward because I can't access. And I'm on top chat. Let me switch this to live chat. I'm sorry. I just realized. Because I can't do my schoolwork. So now I'm just like, okay, so, but then part of me is like, well, maybe there's a little something else that's, um, not that it takes precedence right now, but it's almost like the thing that I needed to see, I saw. And it's time to, it's like keep that in mind, but also remain open to whatever else comes right now. So be a little flexible, and you're doing great at that. You've honed that skill, which is great. Um, and so yeah, now I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm like, I can't even do my schoolwork. And I was so like, it's like when I buckled down the hardest and I'm like, yeah, I'm finally gonna do this. I can't even do it. So, but yeah, that's schoolwork. What else? I talked about movies. I talked about music. I'm not a huge movie person or a huge music person. Genres of movies that I love: rom-coms, romantic comedies, hands down my favorite movies. Chick flicks, love them. Action movies, I'm over it. Like, how many times do I need to see like something explode? Not that many. Horror films, surprisingly, are moving from the genre of movie I would never watch to the genre of movie I would watch with other people. And it's partially because like they're so dark I can barely see anything anyway. And I think I've talked about it before, but like when everyone else is screaming and jumping, then I laugh. um, Chick flick click, a Yes. You watched Mamma Mia 2.1. I did not watch it. The first time I saw Mamma Mia, honestly, was on campus in the Hall of Music, and I only went because it was free. One of the one of the programs, clubs, one of the organizations on campus for first year students who are like international, who are like getting used to the you cried and cried and you don't even know why. Wasn't was Sharon 2.1 or 2? Was Sharon 2? Why did I say 2.1? Was Sharon Mamma Mia 2? She was like the grandma or something, right? Do 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 do. What was that song? Give me a minute after midnight. My friend, the friend that I went to go stay with, he kept singing that at me for like a solid week and a half. Every time he saw me, he would just be like, give me a man. I'm like, oh my gosh. She was in both. Oh, I didn't see the first movie. I just saw the like little traveling theater production, the traveling production. I saw that. Um, but wait, it's weird because I feel like I almost have memories of like watching the movie, but I know I didn't watch the movie. Something weird that's starting to happen with me is that like I feel like if people tell me about something, it's like the image of it will almost start to like try to form in my brain. Like even if somebody is telling me about a dream that they had, then it's like my brain tries to start like seeing the dream. I don't know, it's weird. That was the first ever tape you got. Way before I was born. I do like money, 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 always sunny. But all I know of ABBA is like Mamma Mia, right? So um but yeah, I love musicals, even though I don't like watch honestly, I don't watch enough. Into the Woods is my favorite musical. Act one, I used to watch Into the Woods like all the time when it was on Netflix, maybe, or we had it at the front desk. We had the DVD. After a few times, I would only watch Act One of Into the Woods. Honestly, like not gonna lie. But then the movie came out, and I was watching it with my mom, and she was like, "If you keep singing every song, I'm gonna kick you out of my room." So, if you see a musical with me, you probably want to see a musical that I haven't seen because if I've seen it, I'm gonna sing it. I can't help it. Knowing me, knowing you. Uh huh. You too. And it's so weird though, because it's kind of like I think I have aphantasia. And I didn't even know that aphantasia was a thing until like 2 years ago. It blew my mind because like if someone says like close your eyes and visualize a beach, like all I see is black. I don't see a beach. And I thought everyone was like that people could just like you know the elements of a beach. So if you had to see it, like I know what I would see, but all I actually see is black. But there are people who actually see beaches. I'm like, what? And then my brother is like that, but my mom also has aphantasia. So, and then she was like, I wonder if that has anything like to do with like being able to manifest stuff. I was like, I don't think so. But she was like, because you know, people tell you to see it. Um, Singing with tears and all can't stop me. LOL. Sometimes you can, sometimes not. That's interesting. Um, yeah, and so, but I feel like now that's why it's a little bit weird though. Ever since I started like meditating and stuff, and like whatever is happening now, because it's almost like an actual image is there, and I'm like, wait, like, am I starting to see something? You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess I'm really just gonna talk about me for however long. Okay, Clorinda. If you see, you believe it. LOL. Can. Yeah. But that's why I feel like I've gotten good at like just trusting and maybe like doing other things, working around it, you know. I work around another solution. But the reason why I was sweating so much is because I was walking in place and I was listening to music, and then I was about to come live, and then the Casper slide part two came on, that cha cha slide. And I was just like, I don't have much room back here, but I was getting into it. I went a little bit lower than I thought I could go a few times. And I was feeling good. And then I was like, okay, oh, well, welcome back. Welcome back. This is gorgeous. Did you finish this today? Wait, wait, wait. What is this, Clorinda? What is R10? Or is that Rio? Late last night. Okay. Is that the name of the person whose cake this is? Or is that just the coincidence? Oh, snap! I love that coincidence. You know what that means, Clorinda? One day I'm gonna have a cake made by you. Oh my gosh, the number three. I've been seeing that number a lot today. Um, yeah, you're gonna make me a cake one day, and it's gonna be great. Yeah. So I mean, you did say that. So I still know that day is coming. Don't know when, don't know where, don't know how long. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. So I had this dream last night, and I'm not gonna go into all of the details of the dream, but I've been in this space within this Pisces season. For you to eat, me too. Okay, thank you. So not just a picture of a cake that you're gonna make for me that I'm gonna wish I could eat but not be there to eat, and then somebody else eats it. Thank you for clarifying. But I had this dream last night that I was in a situation with a person and I pulled back, but then it's like it got recasted and somebody else was acting it out, and the person who was playing me was like doing things I wouldn't do and saying things I would never say. And I'm just like, what? But it almost felt like somebody was like, oh, yeah, we're deciding to go in a different direction. And so, like, it was still me, but like, it's like the role was me, but the actor was different. And when I was back there, so like, whenever I go outside or whenever I move and I'm listening to music, I get clarity about stuff. And so within this season, there were a few days when I don't know if I was just so overwhelmed with everything going on subconsciously or in the ethers, if I can say in the ethers, in the field of things that people are experiencing but not talking about. And if you are someone who is absorbent, you can just like suck some of that up, right? And so there were a few days when it was just like so much without me really addressing it. And it was hitting me in my dreams. I was just like emotionally disconnected, just like completely like emotions. Like, you know what? I don't even care today. You too love music. Does so much for me. Yeah. Well, it's going to be, it's going to be over eventually. And I'm not necessarily in a space to be visited right now. So, um, but it will happen before the end of next year for sure. Either you're gonna come see me or I'm gonna come see you. Honestly, see, I don't want to cheat you out of a trip, but I'm definitely taking another international vacation. London was top of my list, but since I've been there, I can move it down and we'll hang it out. Yeah, we'll hang out 2021 for sure. For sure. I'm gonna make it happen. Um, But yeah, there were some times when I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna pull my energy away from everybody and everything. And if someone makes inquiries about me, or if I'm being like thought of or referenced, I don't even care how I show up. Like, if I show up as the worst, I don't even care at this point because I'm so disconnected from everything. And so now I'm wondering if, like, in me, first of all, withdrawing all of my energy, and then secondly, just like putting that out there, like portray me in any way. If there was someone or something, not like necessarily like physical, but if there was something that had reason to take advantage of that withdrawal and then like would twist me in a certain way or to twist dynamics in a certain way to make them appear a certain way. Because in the dream, I was just like, I don't know, I can't even remember why it stopped. But all I know is like I reached a certain point in the dream and I was like, no. And then it's almost like it went back to the beginning of the scene, but it played out in the way that somebody else wanted it to. And I can't be upset about it because, I was like, I don't care. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I know that what needed to happen happened. And I know why it happened, at least in a moon type of way. I don't think I know like the sun card, the totality of why it happened. But I can see a lot of the reasons, especially for myself in particular, and some reasons on some other people's behalves of why it had to happen. Um, and so I'm not too over it, or I'm not too over it. So I'm not too worried about it, but it might just be like in the future, might not want to do that because, but I wasn't even like thinking about it like that. Yes, go deliver that cake. Clorinda, let me just mod you. Costa. All right, have fun. Have fun, deliver the cake. Hopefully you are well, not hopefully you're done working for the week, but hopefully you get a little bit of a break. You get to rest a little bit, not, be so intensely working. Um but yeah, that was at least part of my dream last night. And now it's just got me thinking like, wow. But what was meant to happen happened. Oh, you have one more to do? Okay. Oh, I mean, that makes sense. I know my mom said she went to the store today and she saw one person. She was like, "Are you hugging?" And then the other person was like, "Yeah." And so they hugged. But then she saw somebody else and she was like, "Are you hugging?" And that person said no. um, so yeah. Was a rowing event. Oh, then that makes sense. Yeah. Because I know a lot of the larger events are being canceled all over the place, except for like F1. I follow Natalie Tran, and she's in Australia on Twitter, and she was like, "F1 isn't canceled. This is dumb." Um, but yeah. Oh, it is canceled now. Okay. Well, there you go. That's kind of sort of um one of the like not a sticking point, but it's like no matter how you choose to respond to the situation right now, other people are also responding. So I feel like this is one of those situations and one of those examples of when our choices greatly affect other people. And not just with like the canceling of events, but with like people panic buying things. Is it panic buying? Is it being smart and stocking up? I feel like it goes to a little bit of an extreme maybe sometimes. Um, but then again, who was really prepared for this? And so that's when it's like, I don't know how much care and concern do you have for the others, and then it gets weird. It gets weird. Yeah, there's a lot of like it's starting to get a little empty out over here too. My mom said there wasn't any toilet paper, and like I wouldn't have thought that toilet paper would be one of the things that people sort of buy. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I also follow someone in Japan, and they were out of toilet paper for a minute. And then, there's the people who will buy more than what they need to sell it to other people at a higher price. Excuse me, people who would like take advantage of the situation. And that's a whole other like I don't know, it's interesting. One of the drivers tested positive. Oh, okay, so that's why. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially as a country over here, because I don't know too much of anyone else's politics, and honestly, I don't even know like all of our own politics. But like when it comes to broad, general, overarching sort of like issues and concerns, it's like it'll be interesting to see how we respond to this because I feel like we're in a semi unique ish position where a lot of the things that other places have in place we don't have here. And like I don't want to get political on my channel necessarily just because, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not 100% politically informed. But when it comes to healthcare and universal healthcare, then it's like, you know, I feel like we're as a country, especially here, gonna be pushed to this point where it's like, what do we value more? Money or lives? Right? Sense or citizens? Which is it gonna be? Um, because at like, if you're of the mind and like regardless of what it is, where it originated, and how like much of an actual threat it is as compared to like, how much is it being overly sort of like overly it's like they're making it seem worse than what it is, even though it's like it could be bad, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this bad. Like I said, I don't know either way. $100 per roll. Oh, wait, what? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's crazy. Um, but I think it's going to be some of the things that we're going to have to look at. And just like I kind of sort of hate to draw parallels sometimes, but just like whenever we go through retrogrades or whenever we go through periods in our own lives, when we have to look at how our foundational structures and beliefs and like me versus you, ours versus theirs versus everyone's, whenever we come upon moments when we're put in situations where those beliefs have to be questioned and then changed, right? I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for change that's coming in and that's happening. Um, and it's a very unfortunate way for it to happen, especially with like, places where, and Corinda, like, we haven't talked in a minute. Okay, talk to you soonish. But especially in places where like there are natural disasters and things already happening or things that have been happening, and then to go to this, it's just like I don't know. I didn't even think I would be talking about that. But let's get back to me. Not because whatever, but because that's why I came on here, right? And I don't want to be one of the people on here talking about it because I feel like I try to stay as informed as I need to be about stuff like this because then like I don't know. It's not to be completely ignorant, but there's a decent level of information, or at least a minimum threshold of informed that one should be. Um, so what else? Video games. I like video games. I don't play them as much anymore. My favorite series of video games is Monster Hunter. For sure, hands down, I can still play Monster Hunter too, for the most part. So, favorite console company, Nintendo. Second is Sony. Don't like Microsoft just because I don't like Call of Duty and Halo and racing games and sports games and shooters. Like I'd rather play like RPGs, action adventure, anime games. So that's like my least favorite genre games is shooters, FPS. I'm just not good at them. Anything where I have to play against other players, I'm trash. I'm trash. It doesn't matter what the game is or how good I am at the game. If you put me against somebody else, I'm gonna lose. I always lose. I do love co-op. So even if it's an FPS game, if it's a co-op game and it has like RPG-ish elements, I'm all about it. If it has like loot or gear, I love it. Um, Music, games, movies, and then I do want to talk about some of my favorite decks. So my newest deck is the Kawaii Tarot, of course, and I want to pull a few cards from each of these decks. My favorite deck, the deck that I'm resonating with the most right now, is the Witch's Tarot. Let's see, where is it? I mean, y'all have already seen it, but I did want to pull a few cards. It's the Witch's Tarot, and I'm going to pull a few cards from this one. And this one, when I first got it, I did not resonate with it at all. But now it's just speaking to me. My favorite Oracle deck. Oh, I'm tempted to say the Wild Unknown Archetypes, but I'm going to have to go with, even though I don't use this deck too much, because honestly, it is a little. When I first got it, I was like, "Ooh, I resonate with this on a certain level," but I don't necessarily need everybody to know. Um, and like even with my spiritual path and journey and everything, if I'm 100% honest, I don't think there's a single person that I've told like everything to. There is one person, and we were like getting close to that, but it didn't happen. We were like breaching the topics that I don't necessarily talk about with other people. Because I try to like realize that like, not everyone is on the same page about everything. And there are some grand ideas that can be communicated even if the belief systems are different because they all share a language. And so that's why sometimes I'll say like God, and sometimes I'll say the universe, sometimes I'll say source, sometimes I'll say the angels. I don't think I've ever actually said the angels, spirit guides, stuff like that, because it's like it is what it is, regardless of what you call it. But this is my favorite Oracle deck, even though I hardly ever use it. My least favorite, I don't think I have a least favorite Oracle deck, but the Oracle deck that I use the least is this one. Of course, I don't necessarily like pulling this one out. And the thing don't even want to close no more. Maybe that's accurate. It's this deck. Fun fact, I only got this deck because of an old friend who is no longer a friend. Why is this? Hello? Wait, oh my gosh. Oh, that's why. Give me 1 second. Why does this thing just like pop up? Hello? I also had a dream last night or another part of the dream last night is that I was relocating. And this might be a little bit TMI, but there was one part of the dream where I had to go poop. And I didn't really look at the toilet seat before I sat down, and it was wet, and I was like, ugh. And then it had like stains on it. I was like, okay, I need to go use a different restroom because this is not it. And while I was like transitioning between restrooms, my mom and my aunt came up, and they were like, um, there was like this glacial ice fishing position somewhere in like Alaska. And they were like, you could do this. And then like you only work like these months out of the year. And basically it was like in the wintertime and I would have the summer free or something like that. And I was like, where did y'all find this? Like, what is this? But then I was like, you know, I don't know. This is my least favorite, or the one I connect to the least slash use the least. Um, and then somebody else, one of my other friends, if I can still call him that, I can. I feel, I don't know. I hope. Um, he texted me something when I was on the toilet. And then I was there and he was like, here's like these 3 places where you could like relocate to. Um, so that was interesting. And I think that happened before the part where I just like stepped back and then it played out without me. And I'm just like, what is happening? Um, so most recent, this is actually, I think this is my most recent Oracle deck as well. No, it's not. It's not. My most recent Oracle deck is the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. So it's this one. I guess I'm going to be doing a bunch of generals at the end of this. This is my most recent Oracle deck. My favorite author, illustrator is Kim Crayons. I got Wild Unknown Archetypes, Wild Unknown Tarot, Wild Unknown Animal Spirits. Um, excuse me. And I actually started with the Animal Spirits, and then I moved to Tarot. And I was honestly like super intimidated by tarot. But there was a 10-card Celtic cross, and I was like, okay, so if I start with the hardest spread in the book, then it has to get easier from there. That was my thought process. And then it's like, one second. And then I was like a few cards in, and oh my gosh, I hate when my phone does this. I should have known it was going to do that when it didn't let me unlock it. What was I even talking about? And then I was like 2 or 3 cards in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And it was like a lot of majors on the table too. But I got through it, and then it was like a solid-ish introduction. I was like, okay, I feel like that's the hardest thing I'm gonna do. So let's go super simple from there, and then build it up slowly. And that was, I think, November 2018 is when I did that 10-card spread. And it took a minute, and I still have it. But after I did that, when I was doing that, I cried. And that's exactly the reason why I bought the cards, because it was like, and I think I've talked about it on my channel, but get to know me all in one video. But the reason why I got into it is because I wanted to, I was already like fairly spiritual. I've been fairly spiritual all my life. I was more religious when I was young. I was already like fairly spiritual. I've been fairly spiritual all my life. I was more religious when I was younger. And so that's when like people would ask me if I'm religious. I would say I'm religious-ish. And then I would say like me and Jesus are on like a break right now or something like that. Because it was like, what I felt to be true didn't always align with what I was exposed to. And it's not just because of my sexuality. It was just like, is that you're kind of sort of judging the sun based off of moonlight. It's like I'm judging the whole sort of like, what do they call it? It's not theological. Is it theological? It might be theological, honestly. Yeah, it is. I'm basing like the whole theological everything based on people and how people act and react and how people use a name or say a name or the causes that they champion under a name. And so that's why I feel like, it's judging the sun based on moonlight. Um, and so I've always been like spiritual. I've always been intuitive. I was a lot more empathic when I was younger. After events happened in my life, I tried my darndest to shut that off and to distance myself from people. And now over the past year, I've been very intent on like opening back up. And actually, it'll be almost coming up on a year exactly when I was finally like, I think it's time for me to start connecting to people who are outside of my family and my like close friend group. And by that, I mean like getting on the apps. I don't know why I said it like that. It was almost a year ago. And after a certain point of like being a little bit more open and vulnerable and being in a space to connect with people more, my heart just like opened back up and I'm just like, whoa, like what is all of this? I forgot how much I can actually feel. I have a lot of water in my chart. I got 2 Pisces placements, a Cancer placement, and a Scorpio placement. Like some of my Pisces, like one of my Pisces placements trines my Mars in Cancer. One of my Pisces placements trines my Cancer placement, and the other Pisces placement trines my Scorpio placement. And my Cancer and Scorpio placements don't trine. But then my Black Moon Lilith is like right in between it. So I'm always like, Black Moon Lilith came in and like busted up my Grand Trine. And so I'm not a grand water trine, but I do have a lot of water in my chart. I also have a lot of earth in my chart. So, but I'm coming a lot more into the water. And it's almost interesting because so my Mars is in Cancer and my IC is in Cancer. And the IC is the 4th house. So I have a pretty strong 4th house, and Cancer is where it loves to be. I think my Mars is actually in my 3rd house, though. I have Cancer on the 3rd and the 4th house. And so when I was intent about like connecting to family more, I feel like it opened that up like last year because I was like everything that I knew I needed to do, I wanted to do last year because I could feel that like if I was going to continue living my life the way I was living it things would not work out. And I've talked about it here before in a video that I think is privated now. And I'm not gonna necessarily go all the way deep down in the weeds. But I reached a point when I was like, everything in my life has to change. Nothing can remain the same because the same isn't working. The same isn't keeping me sane. So things have to change. And they did. And I started with family, and then it branched out from there. I started with like a lot of stuff. But I was thinking about it when I was walking, and it was like it's almost like I reawakened my Mars because my Mars was lying dormant for a long time. My Mars was dormant, my Venus was dormant, my Jupiter wasn't because I was in like full on Libra mode basically. But my Venus was dormant in like how I really connect to people. My Mars is dormant in like my drive and my motivation and like what it is that I stand up for and fight for. And wow, Mars is in my 3rd house. That makes sense because siblings fall into the 3rd house. And the only times I would really get upset growing up is when someone was messing with my siblings. But when my Mars woke up, it was like there were other people that I was like protective over. And I'm like, whoa, what is happening? I haven't been mad like this in a long time. And something else was going on. And now like Cancer moons hit me in a way. I guess that's when they conjunct. Yeah, when Cancer moons conjunct my Mars and they trine my sun, I'm crying. Except the last Cancer moon, I didn't cry. But I think I've noticed that if I cook on a Cancer moon, I'll be fine. Because Cancer is also good in the kitchen. Cancer and Taurus placements are the cooks. of the zodiac, and I have both of those. And so I've been learning, not learning, but I've been cooking more and enjoying it so much. Um, wow, I'm really just like talking about myself, and I'm kind of loving it, honestly. I feel like I don't really talk about myself enough because, again, I'm a lot more interested in other people. Um, why was I talking about all the water in my chart? I don't know, but I was like, I wonder if like my Cancer waking up has anything to do with like some other stuff. And I'm noticing that there are like some positive shifts in my life, but not in my life specifically, in my environment. There have been some positive shifts in my environment lately. And it seems that like whenever we heal things within ourselves, there's a certain collective radius. It's getting dark. I kind of like the dark vibes. I'm in my Scorpio mood. And I'm dark skinned. Watch me disappear. Let me stop. Every time growing up, every time the teacher would turn off the lights for us to watch a movie, every single time, even through high school, people would be like, "Oh, where did Patrick go?" And I can laugh because, in the moment, it's like, what else are you going to do? But I'm like, really? Like, we still making these jokes, y'all. Some of the people there were a few people I was in school with from kindergarten, which I guess isn't too weird. There was one person I was in school with her from kindergarten to college. We actually went to the same college, which was interesting. Um, and now I'm talking about myself, and I'm not even talking about the cards right now. Um, man, I feel like I also lose my train of thought easily. One of my Pisces placements is Mercury. So I have Mercury in my 12th house in retrograde. So it's very easy for me to lose my train of thought. And sometimes I come up with these like wild analogies, and I feel like I have to put a story to everything, but I try to do it to get like people to understand my point. Because also, like, whenever I'm explaining something, part of me feels that like I have to explain the reason why I think the thing that I think before I tell you what I actually think about something, especially if it's personal. So if you're like, Patrick, like, what do you think about this? And I go, well, when I was a kid, this happened. And then later on in my life, that happened. And then this happened. And I saw somebody like do this one time. And so, like, half an hour later, I think this. And half an hour later only happens if I don't lose my train of thought on one of the many, 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 many tangents I'll take. And it's likely that it will happen. So I may never get to the end of that story because after 5 minutes, I sometimes forget what I was even talking about. So sometimes it could be like 20 seconds. And I'm just like, wait, what was I just talking about? Like, you've probably seen it already in this video a few times. I don't know. I'm really enjoying this. But let me keep going. So this is my newest Oracle deck. Least used Oracle deck, favorite Oracle deck. I'm not going to do a most used. Actually, what are my most used oracles? Lately, my most used oracles are the energy oracles. So I guess I am going to do a most used energy oracles. I got these off of Wish. So I got the small like pocket edition, and I honestly love it because I don't have a lot of space where I am. So I got least used, most used, favorite, and newest. So least used tarot deck. Ooh, that's between the wild unknown and the vice verses. I'm gonna say the vice verses because the wild unknown was the only one. Oh, or is it the SKT? I use these more than I use the vice verses. So my man, this is gonna be a lot of general messages at the end. Um, maybe I'll pull one card from each. Yeah, I'll pull one card from each, and then I'll do like 4 piles or 3 piles. I'm feeling the number 3 today, but I said 4. I'll do 7. Psych, we're doing 3. This is my least used deck. It's the vice versa, but actually, this might be one of my favorites. because I love that it's double-sided. I love that extra layer of, like, whenever you add an extra layer of complexity to something, my brain loves it. Um, least used, least used right here. Most used right here. Newest, favorite. I'm not going to do oldest because that's way too much. Um, well, my oldest decks, I think I've already said, is the Wild Unknown Oracle, the Wild Unknown Spirit Animals, and the Wild Unknown Tarot. Those were the first two decks I ordered off of Amazon. They're great. They're amazing. I love Kim Krans. I wouldn't start with the Wild Unknown Tarot because, like, let me see if I can do this really quick. Well, so with some tarot decks, if you're going to start tarot, what I personally would recommend is to get a deck like this, right? Where there's an illustration on each picture. Because if you just have like two pentacles on a card, you're like, two coins. What does two coins mean? Right? So if you're just starting out, and I don't think anyone will be, well, maybe somebody will come across this that doesn't have a deck yet. But if you're just starting out, I would say get a deck that has illustrations for everything. Because even if you don't know what the cards mean, you can go off of the illustration and get the vibe. Even if you do know what the cards mean, sometimes the illustration carries an intuitive weight that's heavier than what the traditional meaning is. Because it's like the whole thing is all about association, right? And that's sort of how because that's what the subconscious mind does. The subconscious mind rules like association, and it does all the associating on the back end, so that on your conscious, you don't really have to think about it. It's just there. Like, you already know what it is. Like, I don't have to tell you 15 times that an apple is an apple because your subconscious remembers. And I don't have to tell you 15 times that, if the birds are chirping outside, it probably isn't winter because they fly south for the winter, except if you're born in, like, if you're living now, apparently, because I don't think the birds went anywhere this winter. And I was like, it is so cold outside. Like, y'all gonna die. But they survived. So, hey. Um, But, like, I guess, I don't have to tell you, if it's extremely cold, you're probably not going to see a lot of bugs. And you're probably not going to see a lot of birds because when it gets really cold, they dip. Um, and so, like, and that's why, like, you'll get differences between readers since it is all about association. It's like, what can we show this person to get them to see what we need to see? And so that's why readers will have different meanings for different cards and they'll mean different things. And that's, like, not even with, like, because, like, even when you get a standard meaning for one cards, they are multifaceted. It can mean multiple things. Um, I do also have a Lenormand deck, but I only have one. So I'm not going to do, like, my favorite Lenormand, my most recent Lenormand, my oldest Lenormand, my most used and my least used Lenormand. I do kind of want some more Lenormand decks. But I got a Lenormand deck on Amazon and it was just as much as a tarot deck. And I'm like, y'all charging me the same price for 36 cards, roughly, than y'all do for like 78. Like, what? Really? After that, after I got that first deck, after I saw them 36 cards, I was like, maybe that's limited. Maybe that's lack consciousness. Maybe that's not from a consciousness of abundance. Because, if I am infinitely abundant, it doesn't matter how much it costs. I can have it. It's mine. But still, it's like the same price. What? Really? Um, so yeah, these are all my favorites right now. And I guess I kind of want to get into these generals. Also another thing with cards, because I guess I'm just talking about it. With each deck you buy, you also get a different interpretation of the meaning. And so another thing with Kim Krans is that I don't think, for some of them, like, they're not illustrated in a way that would necessarily give you the traditional meaning of the card. And in some of the cards, it's like her interpreted meaning or her personal meaning might be a little bit different, or the aspect of the traditional meaning that it focuses on might not be the aspect that most people focus on. And another deck that I have that kind of does that is, well, this deck for sure I would not start with because I mean, honestly though, like the book in here is really helpful. It's very kawaii, which is cute. Kawaii is Japanese for cute. Hey Miyoshi. Okay, I mean, I'm just talking about myself, so um and I've been talking about myself for nearly an hour now. It's 55:37. I've been seeing 555 and 5555 a lot lately. Excuse me, and then a semi-major, I wanted to say life change happened, but I feel like if I say life change, I might cry. And there's 5555. Um, it's not that like life change will make me cry, but I don't know. It's just like it was so quick and so abrupt. Um, but after everything happened, I was like, oh, this is why I've been seeing 555. And this is why I was hearing keep moving forward and go the distance. Hercules and Meet the Robinsons. Anyway, what was I talking about? See, this is how my brain works. You just got to keep up. You just got to keep up because sometimes I don't even know where I'm going. I always know where I'm going when I start, but once I begin, I forget. So, Mercury and Pisces in retrograde. What else am I about? I do kind of want to pull some of these. Oh, I'm gonna ask the cards to show me. So I'm gonna do. Maybe I'll only do one. I was gonna do piles, but I don't think I'm gonna do piles anymore. So if you were waiting for piles, I'm sorry. Bye. Unless you choose to stick around, then hey. I think I'm gonna ask the cards to help tell my story. Hopefully they don't make me cry. Because when I tell the cards to make me cry, I cry. I remember I was doing a video one day and I was reading for myself at the end of the video and I was like, make me cry. And then the cards that came out were like, well, one of the things that you're not too keen on is like dying alone. And it's not that I'm necessarily worried about dying alone, but I've always been the type of person that's like, I'd rather choose to be alone than end up alone. But I had stopped choosing to be alone. So then it was like, wow. But yeah. I don't think there's much that they could do to make me cry. See, I don't even like saying that sometimes. Because whenever you make a petition or whenever you start pulling cards and you're like, oh, this isn't going to affect me like that, they straight up put you in that oop, and you just be like, ooh, y'all really did that. And that's why I'm like, who's really doing the reading? Is it me reading the cards or is it the cards reading me? And I made a post. I used to be on Tumblr all the time. To all of my fellow Tumblr refugees who are probably on Twitter now. Hello. Let me stop. Clearly, we are switching. You always choose to be alone. Yeah, I'm just like, I reached the point where I was like, I started choosing to be alone through a very specific set of circumstances in my life. And, oh, the hangman. Piscean energy, peace, bruh. But yeah, through certain situations and circumstances in my life, that's what really prompted me to choose to be alone. But when I started healing those, I was like, I don't want to be alone anymore. But after I was mostly done healing them, I discovered that like there was a lot of fears and anxieties that I didn't think I had, but were there. And that's why I was like really intent on healing all the relationship stuff, relationship anxieties and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's going to be next on my list because it scares me. And I want to be, it's like, it was honestly, it was my Leo moment. It was my Leo time where my major for last year, if I had to assign a major arcana to last year or a few major arcana to last year, strength would definitely be one of them. um, for sure, because I did a lot of things that I didn't necessarily think I would do. I stepped outside of my box a lot, and anytime the tower, strengthen the tower, but I feel like, strength the tower, the chariot, because with the chariot, it was me like moving, chasing towers, having the strength to go through all that to find the perspectives that I needed. And so that's why I switched on that one, because I was like, it was a self defense mechanism. And I reached the point where I knew I didn't need it anymore. And it's not necessarily that I knew I didn't need it at the beginning, but I recognized that it was limiting me in a lot of areas and in a lot of ways. And it was leading me to make choices and decisions that I didn't want to make. On a heart level, on a soul level, on a personal level, on every level. I was just like, I don't want to keep making these decisions anymore. And so things have to change. And so they did. Okay, tell me something about myself. I feel like I didn't shuffle these well enough. Cutting to the King of Pentacles and the Two of Swords. So I do have Libra in my chart. My Jupiter is in Libra. And King of Pentacles is fixed Earth. I'm a Taurus moon and rising. I'm going to have my whole birth chart on this video, I guess. Um, honestly, being a Pisces sun with a Taurus moon and rising is really nice, because I have a super mushy sun. But whenever I get triggered, well, it's like I get triggered and my first response is like Earth. And so it takes me a long time it takes a lot to get me like really upset, because once I start to get upset, it's just like I stop caring. Oh my gosh, no. Now I have reversals in this deck. This was supposed to be an all upright deck. I'm shook. I'm sad. I'm not sad, but that was an accident. I guess this is a mixed deck now. I don't think I'll put it all upright. And another thing about reversals, some books that you buy, because a lot of times the deck will come with a guidebook. Some of the guidebooks actually provide information on reversals, just like this book. Some of them don't. Some of them are like interpreted as you see fit. Oof, I love that energy. And this is exactly what I was talking about. Four of Pentacles in reverse. That's me choosing to no longer be isolated and separated and keeping everything and hoarding everything to myself. This Four of Pentacles, I feel very much like a shield or a wall. And then also Judgment in reverse. And with Judgment in reverse, I feel like that was like, hold on. Let me just unplug these because I don't need these right now. Actually, let me read Judgment in reverse, because I don't want to say I'm not sure, but whenever it comes to Judgment honestly is one of the cards where I'm just like, it's not that I'm like, what is this? But I'm just like, because sometimes I get like a justicey type feel. But I know it's like, the resurrection before we're all judged on the new world. Oh yeah, it's like when we all get judged, where the dead rise, we all have our judgment day, and the new world that we move on to is determined. And that new world religiously, because I know a little bit about tarot, because when I was first learning it, I watched some videos on YouTube. And in order to sort of like keep the practice alive, to keep the craft alive, a lot of it was integrated with religion. And so that's why you'll see like angels on some tarot decks and stuff like that, stained glass windows outside of the cathedral on the Five of Pentacles or something like that. And so Judgment Day is when we're all judged, and the new world that we move into is either heaven or hell, right? And another thing that I love about this book, and so I played Persona 5. Yeah, I played Persona 5 before I got into tarot. And I had a knowledge of what like tarot was, but I never like bought any cards, right? And one of the characters said, I'm not gonna spoil anything in the game. Persona 5 was amazing. The storytelling, so good. Um, But the main character is the fool. He plays the archetype of the fool. And then everybody else plays a different archetypal role. And there's this one character who plays the archetype of, or these two characters that play the archetype of strength. And they tell him that, like, they told him about the fool's journey. They told him about how, in the tarot deck, each of the majors represents a different step in the fool's journey, blah, blah, blah. The fool moves from the magician to the world. And then in the Thoth base, I think 11 is strength. And then Justice plays card number 8. But in the Rider Waite, strength plays 8 and Justice plays 11. Um, and so, how do I know stuff like this? I watched videos, I guess. I seem a little bit more knowledgeable than I am, but it's because I'm fairly decent at like picking up information and recalling information sometimes when I need to recall it. But I actually looked at this book for the first time last night, and she talks about, she gives a little blurb about everything that the fool encounters from each major and what the fool learns from each person. And I was like, wow, I wish I could send this to somebody. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna look at this now. I don't know if I'll hold it up. I'll try to hold it up. So, Judgment in reverse. Also, another thing about me is my eyes are healing. um, and basically, I'm like extremely nearsighted and kind of sort of night blind. And the night blindness is what makes horror movies fun because they're so dark, I can't see anything. And then, like, with me not being able to see anything, I rely more on my other senses, especially tapping into the collective consciousness of storytellers and the flow of a story. And y'all know some movies can just be predictable, but I'm like, oh, something is about to jump up, and then it jump up. Like, you ain't gotta be like whatever, but if you're more enthralled in the visuals of the movie, it kind of like I'm a little bit more removed from the movie going experience sometimes. Okay, Miyoshi. I mean, thank you for letting me know. But with Judgment in reverse, this is negativity, being stuck, and self-criticism. Is it really? That sounds like a hangman. That sounds like what people say the hangman is. I was going to tell y'all my favorite major. I'll do that at the end. Oh, this is a little bit. Oh, it's not that much. It says Judgment reversed indicates a resistance to a new phase or a difficult time filled with self-criticism. It can mean you are hanging on to old ideas and standards that don't apply to your situation anymore, like someone exiting a harmful relationship but keeping the words of his toxic partner at the front of his mind. Ooh, if you get reverse judgment in a reading, it's an indicator of imbalance. It's worth repeating it's an indicator of imbalance. It's worth repeating that this card is not about external judgment. It's about how you need to give yourself permission to move on. As card 20, judgment, even reversed, represents the near close of your current journey. This is very interesting. And this is something that is extremely true. And this is why a lot of times we repeat karmic cycles. This is how we break karma. And that's one thing personally about me, I feel like as a reader, the one thing I don't necessarily too much, I don't want to say I don't like it. But whenever I read something, I'm just going to leave this here. Whenever I read something, the timing of it can come much later because it's almost like I read shifts in energy more than necessarily like the current energy. And so if I read an energetic shift that like if you ask me a question, right? And or if it's just a general, and I read a shift in the energy around that situation, I could give you an answer But until the energy starts to shift, sometimes it doesn't come to pass. And so, like, some readers are really good at reading, like, a few days to a few weeks out. I feel like I read whenever, because this is bringing a lot of stuff happening right now, especially with this Four of Pentacles in reverse and this judgment. I feel like this is telling me that someone, and this isn't, I feel like this is a space that I was in the past. Um, and I don't know if this person is going to watch this or is watching. Maybe it'll resonate for one of y'all's already watching. Um, but I feel like someone is going through a process of their heart opening up with this Four of Pentacles in reverse. And it's interesting that it's not the Four of Cups, but Pentacles represents health and it represents family and it represents a lot of things three-dimensional, like your actual physical life, right? And so a closed heart blocks a lot of that. And so I think someone is like, they're being put in this place, in this situation. They're being, with judgment in reverse, with judgment coming out, and with this being the horn, someone is being called to release a lot of the past hurt and a lot of the past, all of the nasty stuff that you pick up from a karmic relationship. Like the card said, right? Even when you leave a harmful relationship, the words still linger. The way that they made you feel still lingers. And we internalize that, and then it becomes our narrative. Another fun fact about me is I actually love writing. Um, and like I said, my Mercury is in Pisces, so I relay a lot of information with the story. Um, but like the power of narrative is like so important. And it is so easy for us to allow ways that we've been treated, ways that we've been spoken to, the words that people have said to us. It's so easy for us to allow those to seep into our foundations and to become a part of our narrative on a level that consciously we might not even understand. And so then we encounter these situations where we think that we've moved past it because we reach a point where you leave the relationship, where you leave the dynamics behind, but that root is still there. The rotten bricks are still in your foundation. And so you come upon these situations where, and it's interesting because I remember saying something about this, and maybe it was like Aquarius season second decade, whenever the Beyonce card came out, and I was like, there are going to be these opportunities coming in that are very, very, very good opportunities. We could be getting exactly what we want, exactly what we wish for, exactly what we know we deserve. But if our self-worth isn't on a level where we can accept that, then we're going to mess it up. And it's not mess it up in a way where it's like you did this and it's bad and it's gone forever. But we're going to be placed in these situations where this is made apparent to us. And this is exactly why things like that come into our lives. It's to show us where we are a little too loose, where we are a little too tight, where our foundation is rotted, where we have allowed what other people have said to us. And like with these two, it's like the energy of like it's an echo chamber. It's like everyone screaming into your ear in megaphones, maybe for a long time, maybe your whole life, what you're worth and what your value is. With this being Pentacles, right? Value, money, value, worth, exchange. Um, but it's like you've been in this echo chamber your whole life where you're seeing yourself in ways that you aren't, just because it's what you've always heard. And so now you're getting to this point where you have to reprogram everything to allow things in, because like you see those are airtight. There's nothing getting in between those pinnacles. Nothing can get in there. So like you're learning to loosen up and not be so hard on yourself, and you're learning to let go of all of the nasty stuff from the past, and that's exactly the space I was in. That's exactly the space I was in. It was like October 2018 when I reached the point when I was like, everything has to change. And a lot of that honestly wasn't necessarily like relationship based for me. A lot of it was things that I was telling myself I couldn't do, things I was telling myself I could never have, because I didn't want to get everything I wanted and then lose it all. I had convinced myself that it was better to never have it at all than to have it and to lose it. And I had that mindset from seventh grade until like I was 24, 24. I was 24, like 24 and a half. So for a very long time, like, and that's why I knew like I had needed a complete foundational overhaul. And some of the friendships I had before, not a lot of them, kind of sort of like one really. Um, some of the friendships I had before didn't necessarily survive the change. And that one I had, like, we bonded. Basically, our whole thing is that, like, we were depressed and miserable. But I wasn't going to stay depressed and miserable because being depressed and miserable is miserable. And, like, I'd started getting to a place where I was like, I was lightening up and I was coming back to who I actually am. Like, I have a lot of earth in my chart, but I'm a Sagittarius North Node and I have a little bit of fire. Um, so like happy go lucky and just like jovial and lighthearted and like kind of like jokey is who I actually am. I've become this person who like overthinks and overanalyzes everything because that's the person that I needed to be to make myself cold, to distance myself from people. Um, and so with judgment in reverse, there's a lot of self introspection. And this isn't necessarily like a process that is self ran. Like you're going to get insights specifically through certain events. And the ones that hit the hardest are when you get those opportunities where you get everything that you want, everything that you say that you're worth. And then through your actions or behaviors, you're sort of forced to have the realization that you've been impacted in ways that you may not have even known that you were impacted. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's everybody. It's life. It's life. Things happen to us that we internalize that affect us in our day to day life. It's literally everybody. That's why therapists have jobs and some pharmaceutical companies make money. Um, but that's, with certain journeys in life, there are certain types of people who aren't born to stay stuck where they are. And if you're watching this, I believe you're not one of those people. And if you are the person who's on my mind, I don't know if you're watching or not, but you're most definitely not the type of person who stays stuck. And you know that, and I know that, and everybody knows that. But getting yourself unstuck, it's hard, it's messy, you're probably gonna cry a lot. um, but there are moments in our lives, like when you're talking about towers and when you're talking about dark nights. See, I'm supposed to be talking about myself. I mean, I've gone through this, so I am talking about myself still, right? Um, but it's just like, I don't know. No one is inherently born to stay stuck, but a lot of people choose not to free themselves. And then on their deathbeds or later in life, if they make it to later in life, because we can go at literally any time, or like midlife, you start to look and wonder like, if what you're doing is actually what you want to be doing, and what would I be doing differently. And then you just, at a certain point, you just get tired. Like you get tired enough of being in the same situations, even when the people aren't there, that you decide to make a difference and you decide to do something and change. And I don't want to necessarily call that a calling, because it's something that is available to everybody. It's something that we all face, and we handle it and we tackle it to different degrees. And so, if you are on a path, on a journey that some may call more spiritual, if you do have what some may call a calling, um, you're going to go through these like multiple dark nights where it's this constant revealing of where you need to love yourself and where you need to let love in, because there's a certain healing power that like love has. And love is a very, very gentle healer, but it's also very stern. It plays such an interesting dynamic, because it's something that it's like so tender. Love is, it's so, look at me talking about love like I know what it is. Who am I? Who am I? Um, but it's so tender and it's so gentle sometimes that the smallest amount of pressure can constrict it, right? It's just like a heart. The heart is one of the hardiest organs in the body. It works to keep everything else working. But if you put a little bit of pressure on it, it's going to clog up tubes and it's going to stop the blood from getting to the areas that it needs to get to. Um, and so it in and of itself is a tender and gentle thing, but the power and impact that it has is magnificent, magnanimous. It's huge. Um, but wherever love is, there is no judgment, really. Wherever true love is, there is no judgment. There is only love. Love is not judgmental. Love is patient and understanding. Um, but it's that gentle power of it that can really like shake some stuff up. I didn't even look at what was at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so this is my newest deck, also my favorite right now. And like the colors also mean something. And I need to read that again because I forgot what they were. I know aqua is like intelligence, right? So you see the aqua color in this wheel. That's like intelligence. And so with this chariot, there's a certain element of, well, I guess that's with all the chariots. It's just like little subtle things. But yeah, not every dark night is like necessarily like, and I don't know if it's by virtue of the space that I've reached, but once you can reach a place where you see the value and the merit in everything that happens, there are going to be times that are difficult. But for me personally, it makes it easier when I can see and know and understand why the things needed to happen. And honestly, I have enough trust in the process and in everything now that it's like, wow, this sucks, but I'm excited to learn whatever it is I need to learn to grow in whatever way I need to grow. Um, because, oh, why is this Wheel of Fortune number? Oh, ooh. This is such an interesting story. And it just keeps going. And now Judgment is upright. So that was a lot of cards. And that was a whole story that y'all didn't even see, but I think that story was for me. Um, But yeah, come learn about me, where I just play with cards, I guess. Also, Miyoshi, I will be answering. I'm gonna answer all questions. So I'm not necessarily anticipating any questions, but if you have a question, shoot it. I'll give you an answer. Um, but yeah, I don't. Ooh, a question just popped into my head. Oh, excuse me. What would I say is my secret to the journey that I've been on? Because I feel like, ooh, with this 8 of pennies at the bottom, I feel like in some ways I've become a master of my own path. I'm not going to say a master of all paths. With this Queen of Cups at the top of the deck, trusting in spirits, being open to being led and being guided to deeper reasonings and an understanding that everything that you need to know at the moment, you know it. And whatever you don't know, you don't need to know. Um, I mean, that was just the cards. That wasn't necessarily me specifically, but that's kind of sort of it, right? Um, but my secret is honestly, part of it is just like knowing and realizing that I can't go back. Part of it is, I don't know, it's like I know the space I was in and I don't want that. That was gross. Who would want that? Secondly, it's like a trust and a faith that I've cultivated semi intentionally. Um, like I've said, I've always been very intuitive and empathic and spiritually, seemingly spiritually in tune in ways where, like, whenever I feel like if you're a true intuitive, and I don't want to say like true as if like there are fake intuitives or whatever, but I feel like there are some people who are born with a knowing, um, where sometimes you just know things. And that's one thing that I've always been privy to have. There have been times when I've come up on major life transitional periods. And as soon as I'm exposed to, and then, I mean, you could say, well, at what point is it actually knowing? And at what point is it you like making something happen? That's the interesting part, isn't it? Um, on the bottom of this deck, we have the King of Wands in reverse with the King of Pentacles right behind him. I'm not going to look at the card behind him. I ain't got no Leo in my chart. And all of my Leo friends are gone right now. Actually, I do have like Pedro's pretty cool. I need to reach out to Pedro with that chariot. Come on. If you got King of Cups in your chart, you need to come on. Goodness. I ain't rushing nobody, but let me stop. What did you mean that I was right about being in denial and pulling back? Girl, I knew you was going to do that. I knew you was going to do that. Oh, I actually talked about it. I talked about it a little bit before in this video, but I'll reiterate you because I had a dream last night, and I'll try to keep this quick. In the dream that I had last night, I was hanging out with one of my buddies, and I reached a certain point when I wanted to stop for some reason, or we were stopping for some reason. But in the dream, I saw myself be recast, and I should have expected it. Girl, like you could have asked me that on Discord. Got me trying to have me put all my tea out there. Um, but it was recast, and I was recast, and it's like they started the scene from the top, and it went exactly the way that somebody else wanted it to go. And I was saying lines and behaving in ways that I would never do. And I was like, what the mess is this? What kind of foolishness, demonic mess? Somebody trying to portray me like this? But because I know I've talked to you about like those few times when I was just emotionally like not there. Um, and so whenever there were a few times when I completely pulled back my energy. And I was like, I don't care what I look like. If somebody tries to like pull on me or read on me, whatever, I don't care if they make me look like, excuse me, the worst person alive, because the people who know me should know me and they shouldn't buy into it. And Then I was walking earlier and I had that dream last night. And it just kind of sort of like clicked in my mind that like maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I shouldn't have verbalized permission for whatever to occur in a way to make me look any kind of way. And that's what I meant by like, that was along the lines of like, being in denial and pulling back energy and stuff. Um, because it's like, now I know I shouldn't have done that probably. In the future, I won't do that again. I'll just put it that way. Um, and at the same time, I had this knowing and awareness that exactly what needed to happen happened if there was any kind of outside influence. If. Um, and so that's what I meant. But my secret, honestly, is just like, I don't think I have a secret. It's practice. My secret is to choose to continuously apply everything that I already know. My secret is to continuously choose to see the brighter future that I see ahead of me. And my secret is to continue to choose in the process, is to continue to choose. My secret is to continue to choose to trust in the process of everything that happens. Um, Girl, see, I don't even want to go all the way deep into it. If it happened, it happened. I gave permission. So, you know. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I still know that I reached the point that I needed to really reach to see things about myself, to allow myself to be certain ways, to discover those things, and then to wield those things as power instead of hiding from those things. And that's all I got to say about that. Next, we'll move on to this deck. This is the deck that I resonate with / use the most, I believe. It's kind of sort of like low-key one of my faves. If what? But yeah, that's what I meant, Miyoshi. That's what I meant. I was like, wow, I really did that. Now this is an all upright deck. Oh, there's the star. The Two of Pentacles is a star and the Three of Pentacles. I love that. And the Ace of Cups with that King of Swords, followed by the Five of Swords and the Five of Cups. So you got to get through them 2 5s. But then 5 plus 5 is 10, and we got the Wheel of the Year, followed by Death. Oof. And the Seven of Pentacles, and the Four of Pentacles, and the Eight of Swords, and the Page of Swords, and the Page of Cups, and the Seven Cups, and then the Ace of Pentacles, and then the Hermit, followed by the Tower and the Four of Swords. But then you get the 10 Cups and the Queen of Swords. And behind the Queen of Swords is Strength and the Queen of Cups. So between the Queen of Swords and the King of Swords is, let's see, where is the King? I don't know why I want to look at this. There's a lot of stuff in between the King and in between the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. Behind the King of Swords is the Ace of Cups. Behind the Queen of Swords is Strength. Or no. Or was it the Queen of Cups and behind the Queen of Cups is Strength? I'll look at it again when I pull it out. Yeah, behind the Queen of Swords is Strength. Okay. So I want to do this really quick because I guess I'm feeling led and guided. So if you follow some type of dynamic storyline after what card was that? Who was that? Who was that? Who acting up? Who acting? The Eight of Wands. I love that. I was putting the cards down and it just like had to make an appearance. So maybe some of this is happening a little bit rapidly, or maybe this Eight of Wands is about me about to eat everything I said the other night real quick. I feel like a lot of the sentiments that I expressed still hold, because at the end of the day, a label and a dynamic in and of itself isn't going to put you, honestly, it doesn't put you in a mindset and in a modality to do the work that is required to reach that. And I feel like everything, our entire experience is based on potential. Everyone is born with the same access to their supreme creator. Maybe not born necessarily with the same access to the knowledge that they're exposed to because of wherever they grow up. But certain knowledge could be restrictive, more restrictive than no knowledge. But everyone is born with access to that. Everyone is born with a certain potential to become and be anything that they want to become and be. But at a certain point, it requires us to realize that, to choose that, to go through these moments and processes. And there are times when we get knocked down that we don't necessarily have to have that dark night, right? Because it's like, some people go through dark night and dark night and dark night, but they never reach the point where they reach a realization. And so for some things, it's almost like the label, honestly, it's almost like the label is so enticing and appealing that it gets people out of the modality to claim what it actually is, right? And so I think whenever you talk about a lot of people sort of realizing that they might not be on it, it might be because like a lot of people aren't doing what it is that they need to be doing to stay on it. Because I feel like anyone like kind of has the potential to be it. I don't think in my personal opinion, so I'm going to be eating some of what I said, but some of it will remain leftovers in the fridge. Um, I don't think one person is necessarily called to it more than another person. But I do believe that there are certain people who are more likely to tap into that potentiality for themselves. Excuse me, because there are going to be some people, honestly, there's going to be some people who do the work and there's going to be some people who don't. And you aren't born, it's not like one person is born to do work and another person is born to not do work. Some people say that there are folks who come down here who choose to reincarnate or incarnate right now to make a difference in the world. But when those people come down here, they're subjected to the same game that everybody else plays. So just because that might have been your intention, and we're getting all the way, I don't know why I was trying to do this like less spiritual and less woo woo. Like it isn't, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. And honestly, you can be on the path without the label, right? That's why there are some people who end up with like their soulmates or who end up with the person that they're like, that's why there's like love at first sight or whatever. Like I feel like you can fall into the dynamic without knowing what it is, because again, either you're going to do the work or you're not going to do the work. And so it's like it's like either or, because in my mind I kind of see it, and like I'm a little bit, the perspective that I hold is maybe unique because um I choose to see it in the way that I see it. But it's like if you're going to lunch and they have apples, like regardless of if apples are on the menu or not, if you see the apple and you want the apple, you're going to get the apple. Like whether you know about it beforehand or not. And so like you can say that, but that's kind of sort of like, I feel like it falls along the same lines of like if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it regardless. Um, and so it I guess in a way it is like what you do with the label and where you take it. Um, but I just feel like the dynamic really calls for a certain amount of like, because in my opinion, if things were designed in a certain way, that once we approach this tipping point as a global collective, where we decide if we will progress into the future or if we will allow the many societies and civilizations around the world currently to fall apart, um, it's going to require certain people to make impacts and to make stands all over the place. And in order to amplify and magnify some of those impacts, in order for you to do what you need to do, but be satisfied emotionally, because companionship is part of being human. Um, in order for all of that to take place and in order for all of that to happen, you're going to have someone with a certain level of compatibility, right? Um, I mean, like, it is what it is. Um, and there is an energy that has had the upper hand for long enough that it will have had the opportunity to twist the narrative and to twist the label and to twist the story into anything that it wants to be twisted in. But again, just like there are some people who will do the work and there are some people who won't do the work at the end of the day, There are some people who will I don't want to say that there are some people who will see what it is even if it's misrepresented, and other people who won't. But it's like at a certain point along the way, the truth of what it will resonate. The truth of what it is will resonate with certain people. And so I guess I'm at this point now where, yeah, it's like where you take it and what you do with it, but I don't necessarily see an advantage to having it. And maybe it's just like I feel like people would get further if I honestly kind of sort of feel like people would get further if it wasn't there. Just because it's so enticing and it's so appealing that people get stuck on the wrong phase and the wrong aspect of it. Um and so that's why I feel like, if it was just like I don't know, but I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day, right? And so I don't know. It's just kind of like knowing how certain people are, knowing how people seem to be. There are certain ways to package and prepare things where it may not be dishonest, but it's being packaged and prepared and presented in a way that is not helpful to the majority of the people who are going to come across it. Um, but at the day, it isn't something that needs to be distinguished in my mind. Like, I guess I still don't see why it needs to be distinguished. And maybe that's because, like, my journey is different if I'm not. But just from like a perspective, it's like, I don't know. Cause like I can see it that way, but it's just like, why? Cause if you're on it, you're on it. If you're going to have it, you're going to have it. If you're the type of person, like everything, a lot of people think that a lot of things are destined. And something like that, a lot of people would say it's destined. In general, anything. I mean, but like I feel like there are certain things that need to be distinguished and certain things that don't, right? Like if you slap a label on something that says like poisonous, don't eat, or not poisonous, safe to eat, then like that's one thing. Um, but that it's kind of like the organic label that people slap on stuff because there aren't really any certain like stipulations that you have to follow in order for something to be labeled as organic. And so you can brand something as organic that isn't completely organic, but you would be fine because there's no body governing what is and isn't organic. So at the end of the day, I guess it's kind of like you're saying, like it's what you do with it and where you take it. Because, at the end of the day, there are certain things that are 100% organic and are exactly what they market. But there's quite a few other things that are taking advantage of the organic movement and marking themselves as organic, even though they aren't necessarily organic, just because there's nothing stopping them from saying it's organic. And they know that people who buy organic are going to go for it, you know? So I guess I see what you're saying. Um, but I just feel like it does a lot more detriment than harm. It seems it does a lot more detriment than harm on what a typical psyche is. Because if there's two things that people want, it's they want to be special and they want like to be loved. Um, Honestly, If you think about it, I think the answer to that question, in a way, is no. Just like I feel like you're not supposed to be able to tell 100% for sure, foolproof, what your purpose in life is. Just like you're not supposed to be able to know how you're going to die and when you're going to die. Um, cause like then it's like, what's the point? What's the purpose? It plays this thing where it violates one of the inviolable rules and laws of what we experience down here, which is free will and free choice, right? And so if you know 100% without a shadow of a doubt, then does that influence your free will? And if we're talking about things that play to a higher dynamic, higher being stereotypically more good, less bad, pushing us further into the future, pushing us away from complete global decline, um, then it's like, it seems like good forces follow free will a lot more strictly. Um, I mean, like you trying to debate and stuff. I'm just trying to get to these cards. but like, see, but the thing about some of the people who do is that a lot of people know, but it seems like a lot of people won't be at the same time. So then it's like, who actually knows, right? I don't know. That's why I'm like, how can you like ever actually know? So if you know, for the people who know, do they never question it? Do they never doubt it because they know? Because like the things that I know, I don't question or doubt. And I don't know a lot. But like, if you come up to me and you're like, is 2 + 2 4? I'm gonna say yeah. And so like I'm never gonna question whether 2 + 2 = 4. But if you have to question like, am I really this? Is it like really that? Like it's seeming like it might not be like, oh, I don't know. Like, do you really know it? Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess, and it's something that I'm also like working out within myself. And it's not that I'm necessarily working it out within myself, but I feel like a little bit more about me, I guess. I'm starting to, in my very human and limited way, because I am human, right? We're all human. We're nothing but a bunch of little meat sacks with fluids and bones walking around here. Um, I'm kind of sort of being pulled to this greater, grander cosmic scale of why things are happening and how they play out and if things are actually balanced, right? And I've talked about it before on here, like if free choice and free will are actually free, because it seems that they're very guided. It seems that they are extremely guided choices. And we're kind of sort of reaching this point where it's going to be guided in both directions. And if you are, let's say, the type of person who has the calling or who has a purpose of being a great light in life right now, you're going to be hit. You're going to have guided choices as well. Where it's like, you're going to be like, man, why can't I just go and have fun and do all the things that I used to do, like guilt free? Because you're needed. And because there's a certain side of the game that's actually starting to move its pieces, which is nice because, like, let's keep it fair. Honestly, I'm reaching this point where I'm like, or I've reached a point where I'm like, it's been so skewed in one way for so long that to make it actually fair, I feel like things should completely flip, at least for a little bit, where being good is and making what we'll call ethically and morally sound choices is rewarded a lot more than not. Because it's like we can't necessarily just like reset the board, right? It's like there's 100 versus 100 match, and we're already starting the game like 100 versus 50, right? And then let's say we get down to like 70 and 30, and then someone is like, okay, let's make this fair. So we don't live necessarily in where it's like, okay, we're gonna just restart the game right now with 100 on both sides. It's like, no, we need to cut 40 from that side because it was supposed to be fair in the beginning. You're 40 strong, so we'll make you 40 weak, and then we'll make it fair, right? I don't know. Well, it's just like, I don't know. It's very interesting to think about, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Not a lot, because I was thinking about it a lot more when the whole World War III started going around, and I was like, what is this? Like, really? Like, what is this? Like, who wants this? Who actually wants this? Um, and then that's when I was like, you know what? This game isn't even like balanced. It's not even fair. I was high key upset. But let me put these down. So we'll go from the king to the queen, and then we'll see where they meet. They're looking at each other. Aww. So the queen is on top because I guess she just is. How'd that work? Oof. Oh, well. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Okay, yeah, this is accurate. This is more accurate to what the narrative typically is. Love this. I guess I'm just like talking about anything and everything. Um, wow. This is kind of sort of accurate, Loki, to what people say the journey is. That's what I'm gonna say. Y'all know I like to play it. I don't want to say play it safe, but I like to be impartial sometimes. I'll say. So sitting in between everything is the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is he who enters with a brand new truth, with news of impending change. The page where I said the Page of Swords is actually in between the Tower and the Wheel of the Year, which is the Wheel of Fortune, but the year is interesting. Um, and so I'll do like a play-by-play, right? So on the Queen's side, the first thing we encounter is the Ten of Cups. And on the King's side, the first thing we encounter is the Five of Swords. So there's already this disconnect, right? Um, so going back, I guess it's been a minute since I like said what I was gonna do. I was going through the bottom of the deck, and I think the cards were interesting. I was like, "Ooh, this is interesting," and they kept telling the story, so I kept going. And I saw the King of Swords, and then I saw the Queen of Swords, and then I was like, "I'm just gonna lay out everything and see like where they meet. What's up?" Behind the King of Swords was the Ace of Cups, and behind the Queen of Swords was the Strength card. And so the first thing the queen is encountering is the Ten of Cups, and the first thing that the king is encountering is the Five of Swords. So already we have our first disconnect. If we go based off of numbers, one person is all in, and the other person is like half in. And the person that's all in, like they're all in, like heart, soul, everything they're giving to this connection. And it's the queen, interestingly enough. Doesn't that sound like a divine feminine, right? And the person who's like halfway out the door, halfway in the door, is the King of Swords. And I feel like it's kind of just like an energy of like not wanting to settle yet. Like, and maybe it's a dude thing. I think it can just be a people thing. It's like, if you're young and you're like, I think I just met the one, but I still want to have fun. So I'm going to keep having fun and I'm going to keep doing what I want to do, even if it hurts me and it hurts them, more importantly. I'm just not ready to settle down yet. And then there's also a little bit of an element of fear, um, because I feel like it's like on the queen side, moving to the next card is the Four of Swords, where it's like, she was all in, but she's being halted. She's being stopped, right? He had the five, and then she got the four because he was in the five. So now she's chilling because it seemed like he was walking into it, but then he like stopped halfway, like stopped on the threshold, right? And now he's kind of starting to pull back a little bit because he's moving into the Five of Cups, and he's like sitting, contemplating, wondering, I have these two cups in front of me, everything that I want, but look at all the other stuff that I know won't fulfill me, because typically a Five of Cups, three cups upside down, three cups spilled, two cups upright. All of these things that I know won't fulfill me, but I still want them anyway because I have more life to live. And she's just like sitting there looking at him, like knowing, because swords is all about knowing. It's and he's like can't even look at her really, and she already knows what's up. Um, but it's like they're coming out of this space. The space that they're coming out of is playing the role of the default. So her default is to pour and to try to not entice him, but to try to get him to realize the value of what they have. And he knows it, and she knows he knows it, and he knows that she knows that he knows it. But there's also like whenever you talk about I guess that is one thing that's kind of sort of unique. I guess I'll say about that dynamic over maybe necessarily like any other relationship is the mirroring aspects. Not where you're necessarily not where you're necessarily a split soul. Um, but you just like mirror each other in a lot of ways when you can understand the other person, because with the mirroring comes a certain level of understanding. And maybe that could be, like I said, I haven't interacted with too many people, and I'm not gonna say that I am, and I'm not gonna say that I'm not on the journey. But honestly, I'm just like intuitive anyway. Sometimes you just know things. Um, but with the Page of Swords, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So, oof, man, who is this spread might make me eat every single word I just said, low key. Um, because it's almost like with this Page of Swords, there's this like energy where the sword descends from the heavens slowly. It's not slamming into the ground, and it's sitting upright. It's sitting upright, and it plays the role of this star. Instead of the wise man going to find Jesus, as two wise peoples going to follow the star to see this sword. And when they approach this sword, swords is its knowledge and awareness. One sword is clarity because it's only one sword, right? You get two swords, that's when you get a crossroad. More than one sword, it could be anything. But when you only get one sword, it's a singular point of focus. It's a singular position of truth. Um, and so it's almost like this truth descended, and these two people see it, and so they both know what it is. And on depending on the relationship, I'm going to say depending on the dynamic, I guess, because not every relationship is the same. Stop, Miyoshi, leave me alone. Leave me alone, don't laugh at me. um there's one person who was granted more of a knowing than the other person, and in this deck, this Page of Swords is a male. And so another interesting thing is like with this Page of Swords sitting in between the Wheel of Fortune and the Tower, it's like, and maybe it depends on the dynamic. Again, every dynamic and every relationship is different. Um, some dynamics play more into the role that we all have both energies within us, and we all use both. Honestly, we all use both energies if we're like functioning. Well, okay, I don't want to say that because you can be really, really, really heavy into one energy and deficient in the other. But it's possible that there is a dynamic where with this between the wheel and the tower, it's like it shifts and it changes. And it's not periodically, but there's this shifting energy, right? And so there's one person who knows. And I don't, well, I just said who really knows. There's one person who thinks that they know. Because who knows? Who goes life without any doubts? Who? I sound like the dog now. Who? Or the owls outside. Ain't no owls outside. But if there were owls outside, you hear them saying, who, right? Um, but it's just like there's so much clarity. And it's not clarity in a way that you know why, but it's clarity in a way that because it's sitting on top of this wheel. Like for one person, it's sitting on top of the tower. For the feminine, it's on. Okay, well, the card said that whoever is playing more of the masculine role overall in this dynamic has the knowing, right? And for that person, it's sitting on top of the wheel. For the other person, on the feminine side, it's sitting on top of the tower. So one person has this insight into sort of like how things will shift and how things will move. And when you're watching something move, you don't always know why it's moving in the way that it's moving, but you know the general outline of the course. And when you know the general outline of the course and when you are receptive and receiving, you're open to be guided, right? And so if it's like, all came up for a reason. Oh snap, did it? What's the reason? Um, this is fun. Um, so then it's like, so with this will being here, everything is subject to shift. Everything is subject to change. The wheel has a top and a bottom, has a left and a right, a circle in and of itself. There are always opposite points that connect and are mirrored, right? And so it's almost like there could be shifts in the energy along the way. So one person might not necessarily follow the whole timeline, and the other person might not necessarily follow the other one. Let me get back to what I was saying, which is one person, the way that they're guided is through these tower moments, is through these large changes. And the other person, they can be guided in much more subtle ways because their knowledge sits on top of the wheel, right? And so when the wheel turns, like the wheel of fortune, the wheel of the year is constantly turning. But the turning of a wheel is much more smooth and much more subtle than the shaking of a tower. So that's why for one person it may have been a little bit more like for one person it's a little bit more drastic than for the other person. I'll say that. Um and the tower and the wheel are the next cards, right? And so on the feminine side, now this is interesting because so remember I said it's a wheel. So it shifts and it moves and it changes, right? Because maybe at this point at this point, things change. I wish y'all could see this. So this is how I have it laid out. It's like an S. It's like a. Can I draw? Oh, I'll take a picture. Where's my phone? Come on, 21st century technology. Let's go. Come on. Let's do this. I was watching a reading today, and my girl started belting out Camp Rock, and that's been another song that's kind of been playing in the back of my head. This is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be now. I'm gonna let the light shine on me. Now I know who I am. There's no way to hold it in. No more hiding who I wanna be. This is me. I love that movie. I've only seen it like once. You're the voice I hear inside my head. The reason why I'm singing. I need to find you. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's the song. That's the spread. One person, the dude, is like, And flip the roles if they flipped in your situation. But sometimes the dude know when the girl is lost. Sometimes it just worked that way. Don't look at me. Sometimes it just worked that way. But the dude is like, you're the voice I hear inside my head. The reason why I'm singing, I need to find you. And then the girl is like, I'm just being me. Like, this is real. This is me. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. I'm just like here, like dancing on my own, like waiting for somebody to see me on this dance floor. And then the other dude is like, who is she? Where is she? Where is she? I hear the voice. I hear the voice. Where is she? And then he sees you dancing on the dance floor. Right? Goodness. I'm not a twin flame reader. Don't come for me. I don't read love. Don't come for me. If it resonate, it resonate. If it don't resonate, it don't resonate. Just like with everything else. Because this ain't nobody personal. I'm just saying. But okay, so let me show y'all how this is laid out. So this is how it's laid out. If y'all can see that. Oof, there we go. Can y'all see that? There you go. Okay, why I keep flashing like that? And so, hold on. Let me do this for a second. Okay. I can barely see. So you see the Page of Swords sitting. This is the feminine. So right, the Queen of Swords is right there. You can barely see her. Queen of Swords, Ten of Cups, Four of Swords, Tower. Page of Swords I laid out in the middle. Then it goes King of Swords, Five of Swords, Five of Cups, Wheel of Fortune with this. So it's almost like so the page is sitting on top of the wheel for him and on top of the tower for her. But it's almost like we reached this inversion point where it's like now he's going to jump up and follow this timeline and she's going to come down and follow this one. Whew. IDK if I resonate or not. A to Z. See, but honestly, like, I'm just going with the cards. This wasn't meant to resonate with nobody. I'm just looking at the cards and I'm like, ooh, what is this? Okay. But let's just keep going, right? Because also, no and Z. No. It's the pendulum. It made a Z. Oh, a Z, a Z. Okay, girl. I'm so sorry. Z, the last letter of the alphabet, maybe it means something. This is the world. This dynamic is the world. Like, once these twins come into union, the whole world is going to change and it's going to spell the ending of the previous chapter because it's a whole bunch of garbage that they're going to clear out and the ushering in of a new chapter. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I feel like for some of them, they are switching. So she's going through these towers, and the towers are what's supposed to be teaching her, right? Supposedly. One person is going through towers, one person is learning through the towers, the other person is knowing just based off of how they shift. So they're both going through these changes, but one person is going through more dramatic changes than the other person. Let me say that way. And then, so I think I'm going to switch it. So then you have this feminine coming into more of a masculine energy, right? And as she's coming into this masculine energy, she's she's coming out of these towers going straight for death. So girl, if you been being rocked hardcore, you might be on this side or something. I don't know. I don't know where it flipped, where it changed, where it whatever, but it did at some point. And now someone, or not now, but then someone goes through this death process where there's a lot of stuff in their past that needs to change, right? That's the judgment in reverse. That's the introspection. That's all of the healing work that is required to really, truly. You was just about to say, I feel like a masculine. I mean, honestly, Miyoshi, you can be a female and be a masculine. Like one of my best friends is a female, and she is definitely masculine energy. Definitely 100%. And it helps that she's a Sagittarius. So she would definitely be the runner in any dynamic. I don't want to throw her out there. I don't think she watched me. If you watch me, best friend, I can't wait to get that shot glass from Mexico. And I'm sorry, I just put your business out there. But she's definitely the masculine influence. She's definitely the first person to leave and definitely the one who was not about the feelings. Now, That was her in the past. That was her in the past. But y'all know how Sagittariuses can be in general. They just don't like to be tied down. Some of them, not all of them, not all Sages. But yeah, you can be a woman and be the masculine in the relationship. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're looking for an effeminate dude. Um, it's just relationship dynamics before you reach that point of comfortability. I don't know, girl, whatever. We all different. We all have both in us. That's the part. That's the point. And so one person after these towers is hitting this death process, and the other person after this wheel of fortune is coming into a hermit. So it's like the person going through the towers is now going through major transformation. And the person going through more subtle transformations with the Wheel of Fortune is now going inside and now they're analyzing it, right? And so now that person is like, okay, so if things are changing and moving in this direction, then what does that mean? Because I have this mental overview of the course of the parade in my mind. It's like you get the image, but you don't know where you are. You know the route, but you don't know where you are along the route. But since the knowing is coming off of the wheel, whenever you make a turn, whenever you make a pivot, you know when you like where you are, right? And so he's like, okay, I'm turning, that means I'm here. I'm turning again, that means I'm here. And he's doing this hermit thing, right? And also, like, I feel like there's a certain weight that falls on him to carry this. And usually a lot of times the weight falls on the feminine because it'll be the feminine who knows without the this is based purely off of what I've seen, because all I can know is what's been exposed to me, right? What I've been exposed to. But it seems like a lot of times the weight is on the feminine because she is the one who feels and she's the one who gets stereotypically more emotionally attached, right? She's the one she gets a knowing because she feels it. And with him, it's like she has to be the one that convinces him, right? But maybe like you can always flip and reverse depending. This ain't for everybody, especially like dynamics are different for everybody. But it's almost like in some situations there's actually a masculine who knows. And so it's like, he goes from 5 of Swords to the 5 of Cups to the Wheel. She goes from the 10 of Cups to the 4 of Swords to the Tower. And so maybe before they even meet, because we haven't approached the Page of Swords yet, right? Not no more free. What? Not no more free. Oh, girl, stop. So this could be everything that happened before they met, actually. So you have one person who's very, okay, if I relate this to myself, I'm not going to put anybody on the feminine side because y'all know me. You ain't got to be my feminine if you don't want to be my feminine, but I could have treated you right. And that ain't to nobody specific. That's to all the dudes out here sleeping on me. Let me stop because I was sleeping on myself, honestly. And then this past week and a half or so has taught me not to sleep on myself no more, even though like I've been waking up on myself, but I was put in a space where it was like, you need to wake up right now. It's time to get up because you got work to do. And you ain't been doing it, Sonny. Um, but it's like there's a weight of knowing on one person. And with this 5 of Cups, like there's a master number 55, but then there's one person on a 10. So it's like one person took the relationship road where it's like they dive in, they're giving all of their cups, giving all of their cups, giving all of their cups. There's like almost these cycles. There are these cycles that are playing out until the time when they meet, right? Where he's going through this cycle of like 5 of Swords, 5 of Cups, Wheel of Fortune started all over again. 5 of Swords, 5 of Cups, Wheel of Fortune started all over again. And it's like, I feel like there are certain things that he's not even allowing himself to do. Like with this 5 of Cups always being here, he may have never been attached enough to a person because he has to get through the 5 of Swords first. And so I feel like that's someone who is very, very, very critical, right? Before they even get to the 5 of Cups to question if you an upright cup or are you a spilled cup. But on her side, it's like 10 of Cups jump all the way in. Four of Swords, hit these periods where it slows down. Tower moment, it falls apart. She goes back to the beginning. Ten of Cups, giving all of herself again. Four of Swords, it slows down. Tower moment, it falls apart. Ten of Cups, Four of Swords, Tower. Ten of Cups, Four of Swords, Tower. Five of Swords, Five of Cups, Wheel. Five of Swords, Five of Cups, Wheel. Until they come together. You in danger, girl. Molly, you in danger, girl. Ooh, see? And that's like it's like one person is repeating cycles and the other person is repeating cycles. And then they come in contact. Maybe they don't meet. Maybe this is just like they both energetically reach this phase. It's like before the clarion call. I've been seeing the clarion bell, the clarion call a lot lately. And what my dude Metatron maybe. I'm loving the Scorpio vibes, by the way. I'm loving this. Um, I do have Scorpio in my chart. I'm a Pisces, so I have access to all the zodiac energies. Plus, I have like a super splash chart, so I have everything in my chart except Virgo. But maybe I have like an asteroid in Virgo, like my Juno might be in Virgo. Who knows? But if my midheaven is on Capricorn, so if we're talking about work, I'm on it. You need a structure, you need a schedule, you need rules when it comes to work, and when it comes to making money, I got you. Because when I make money, I don't play, and that might be the Taurus in my chart, low key. I do have a lot of Earth in my chart. I also have 2 planets in Capricorn, so that also strengthens that. Anyway, I'm not talking about me right now. Third decan of Pisces is Pisces Scorpio. Yeah, I talked about that. And I feel like a lot of stuff that was brought to the surface with the second decan, that Pisces Cancer, I feel like a lot of that is going to be settling, and it's going to be potentially forming a new foundation, right? Because Scorpio sink all the way down. If y'all know a Scorpio and they in their feelings, they probably all the way down here. If you see a Cancer in their feelings, they up here, and they probably in your face. Scorpios, they take all their feelings to I don't know. I had a Scorpio roommate, and he'd be like, "It's sad time hours." Whenever it got late, he would put on the sad music, turn the lights down low, and I would come into his room and I'd turn the light on. He'd be like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Turn the light off." I'm like, "Bruh, you can't just sit in the dark all the time." You are Pisces Scorpio. Wait, what? I'm Pisces Scorpio. I'm a first decan Pisces, maybe second decan, because I am on the decan cusp. Who a third decan Pisces? Girl, my birthday passed. Well, I'm in that energy right now. Is that what you're talking about? Your sun is Scorpio Cancer. Oh, yeah, I'm Pisces. Yeah, girl, don't be putting that Scorpio on me. I got enough Scorpio in my chart. I don't want no more Scorpio. Scorpio is cool though. I ain't gonna talk about intertrinal relations on my channel, but shoot, all of us water signs get along to different degrees, but we all get in our feelings, and then when we in our feelings, just like with the fire signs, once they start going at it, shoot, they might all gang up on Aries, low key. Like Aries always think they know what's up, but then they could gang up on Leo and be like, why Leo think they better than everybody? Or they both could be ganging up on Sagittarius, like, are they even fire signs? Let me stop. I'm just kidding. Oh, let me stop. Where's my brain? I need to get my shadow under control. Let me stop. I'm just playing. What time is it? Oh, okay. Why is there this laughing emoji in the title? Girl, I'm dead. Okay, so man, I didn't even pull from everything else. I might come back on later. I still show support because I'm a supporter. It's what I do. Sue me. Um, so there's like they're repeating these cycles until the time comes when things need to change. So maybe perhaps there could be an energy of someone switching sides, or maybe not. Okay, well maybe this is like a little bit more current since it's now time to like start picking up the swords, right? One person is going through these deaths. If you were going through towers and now you're going through these major death processes where things are high key big changing, then you may have switched sides. You might be you might be a little bit more in your masculine energy right now. If you were going through these just like subtle, like Wheel of Fortune, like things just turning, nothing too crazy, nothing too hectic, and now you're going into a death, you're a masculine who's still a masculine. If you were sort of going through these periods where you were never super emotionally attached to anybody, and things were just kind of like you're just kind of living your life, no major upsets, maybe when it comes to the relationship sector a little bit more specifically, and now you're coming into this hermit mode, then you might be a masculine who's switching a little bit more into the feminine, right? If you, however, everything was like going and flowing, nothing too major, but now all of a sudden it's like everything is just like dying, just like completely changing out of the blue. Like it didn't necessarily get super shaken up. You're just hit with this, like, whoa, what am I doing? I need to wake up. Then you might be a masculine who's still a masculine, right? So for the person who is a hermit, because now I don't even know if I can say whatever. For the person who was hermiting, now they're coming into this Ace of Pentacles phase where they can see they were granted a vision of everything that they want because they went inside themselves. And when they went inside themselves, they found what they wanted, what they truly want with this Ace of Pentacles, what they want to manifest. But for the person who was just coming out of these like these like deaths, these are like kind of sort of major deaths because it's not Ten of Swords. But now they're coming into the Seven of Pentacles, right? And so it's like one person went inside to know what they want, and the other person kind of sort of has to try. It's like what you got, the Ace of Pentacles versus the Seven of Pentacles. So somebody is planting a seed here, planting a seed there, planting a seed here, planting a seed there, seeing what grows, seeing what doesn't grow, seeing what looks like it might grow, seeing what looks like it's definitely already dying. That seed never even popped out of the ground. Did I even plant a seed in that hole, or is that just the hole? But the other person, like, they know. They went inside, they have a singular vision. This is what I want. And I don't have to plant my seeds all over the place to find it. Not that one way is necessarily 222, 27. Oh, I missed 222222222. And I got two people and two likes. That would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 twos. And I missed it. Darn it. Anyway, I did see like 5 out of twos though. I saw 6 of the twos. 6 out of 7 twos ain't bad. Hey Siri, what is 6 divided by 7?
6 divided
That's
by
a
7
B.
is about 0.857.
Hey, that's an 85%. I'll take it. But yeah, this is like, it's like now one person is, it's like they're seeing what grows, seeing what doesn't grow. The other person, it's kind of sort of like they put all their eggs in one basket, right? And so this, because like now we're on the slant of the Z, right? Kinda. So this might be another position where they switch. They could be switching back now. Could be. Um, because now it's like the one person who planted multiple seeds is in this energy of like now they're sitting back and they're waiting and they're watching. But this Four of Pentacles, his garment is green and he's holding this huge pentacle over his chest. His heart is blocked. We just had a Four of Pentacles already. So Four of Pentacles, if you watching, I guess we're talking about you again. And it's interesting that we go from the Four of Pentacles to the Eight of Swords because the Four of Pentacles came out with the Judgment card in reverse. And Judgment in reverse was all about, like, even though you may have left toxic karmic situations, you didn't leave the baggage behind. You're still carrying the baggage with you as you're moving around. And so that's part of the reason why you can't see it, because you're still carrying everything, and that's why you're still closed off, because you're still carrying it. But for the other person, like, they go from the Ace of Pentacles to the Seven of Cups, where it's like, I know what I want, and it's like one person, I don't know if this, like, because now we're really close to this meeting spot, which is the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords being the meeting spot is when they come together and they decide to start ascending together. Because from the page, then they become knights. And then that's when we separate back out, right? One person takes queen, the other person takes king, and they rule together and they go on a newer, higher cycle. Like that's a journey. That's the world, right? You come together, close one chapter, boom, open another one, and you start again. Um, but it's like one person who knows what they want. One person is actually planting all the seeds to see what they want, getting disappointed, then they get closed off, and then they're stuck in their own head, Eight of Swords. The other person, they know what they want, and it's not that they're necessarily like tasting all these cups, but they're looking in the contents of the cup to see if what they see is actually what they want. And it's interesting that, like we have one person. This is a dynamic where there's a feminine who became a masculine and a masculine who became a feminine. Because if I'm following this, it's like there's one person who already knew and who was super critical and over analytical and like seeing if someone would fulfill them before they ever engaged, really. And then they come through this wheel and then they jump up to the Hermit, Ace of Pentacles. They see what they want, and then Seven of Cups. They're still like, they're not necessarily tasting it. They might be tasting a little bit, it is what it is. They see what they want a little bit, and then the other person is like they're in this space where they're constantly giving, and then they're being stopped, and then everything falls apart, and then they come down. Now they're just like going through these major transformations, major transitions, because they reached a point where their heart has been broken one too many times. And with the Seven of Pentacles, it's like they don't necessarily know. It's like now they're in a space like it's almost like all of the feeling that they had is dead. And so they can't even feel it now. Like one person has the Seven of Cups where they can feel through connection which option is theirs. And the other person comes into the Seven of Pentacles where they have to feel physically and tangibly. They have to see and they have to taste and they have to touch, is this mine? Because like it's almost like they don't necessarily trust their heart anymore because they feel it's led them to these tower moments in the past. And with the Four of Swords, they put the brakes on the heart. But putting the brakes on the heart is creating these tower moments, then which leads to these death moments where you have to open it all back up. But they're still closed off and they're still stuck in their head because of everything that happened. And if you look at the picture, now the Eight of Swords is sitting. Oh wait, what's this? Oh, you were at the store. No, that ain't what I want. Hello. If you look at the picture, the Eight of Swords is sitting on top of the Queen of Swords and the Ten of Cups. And I'll zoom in on it for you. If you look at the picture, you see the Eight of Swords is on top of the Ten of Cups and the Queen. So this is definitely her flipping and playing out her own cycle. And then he's playing out his cycle. So we don't even have to jump. These are just two wheels that are next to each other. What? Man, look at this. Look at this. What am I jumping for? Like, let me see. Like, y'all see, like, with the feminine, like, because that's the Queen, the Ten of Cups, that she's playing this cycle. She hits the tower, she jumps down to death and, like, comes back up. And then he's playing this one. But now they're merging. Oof. Because, so the Page of Cups is now sitting on top of the King of Swords and the Five of Swords. So altogether, that's 6 swords. 6 swords that are ready to move on. So he's moving on and he's beginning to offer his cup now, right? For the first time, maybe in his life, seriously offering his cup now. And then you have the Queen of Swords sitting on top of the Eight of Swords, which makes 9 swords. And she's just like, in this space of like she's really racking her brain and overthinking it so much, and it's sitting on top of this Ten of Cups because she doesn't want to get hurt again. So it's like one person is in these cycles of like constant hurt, is giving too much, being disappointed, being heartbroken, and like just not diving full in anymore. That's why this Four of Pentacles is still there and this Eight of Swords is still there. That's why they're still reserved, because they don't want to be hurt. But like the other person doesn't necessarily have that problem because they never necessarily put themselves in a position to be hurt in the first place. Not really. And so even if this is someone who, like, even if both parties engaged in relationships, it's like you have one person who was always like always in it. And with the Five of Swords, again, it's like you have another person who, even if they were never fully in anything. Because with the Five of Swords and the Five of Cups, they're in it halfway with the heart, in it halfway with their mind. Like, what's actually present in this? Whereas on the other hand, they were in it all the way with their heart. The mind isn't even in the picture until they start to realize that it's not being reciprocated. Like, you're bringing 10 cups to the picnic, you're bringing the sandwiches, you're bringing the blanket, you made all the plans, you're driving, and then the other person shows up, eats your food, drinks your drink, but then act like they don't even want to be there. And so, I don't know. But that's what I got. I guess shoot. I guess I read it. But with the 8 of Wands still chilling at the bottom. And with the Page of Swords being this energy that sits in between, I think there was a period of sudden realization. And with this sitting between the Tower and the Wheel of Fortune, it's like one person is a lot more shaken up than the other person. And the other person is just like, they have this knowledge and awareness that, like, it will turn in the way that it's supposed to turn. That's interesting. I don't think that'll necessarily resonate for like much of anybody. But if it does resonate, and like I said, with me again, like now the Nine of Swords is at the bottom of the deck, though followed by the Six of Pentacles, followed by the Six of Wands, because there's a I love these two cards. Because there's this Ace of Swords clarity coming in. Not only is the clarity in, both people, now we have two swords, right? It's like before the masculine had a sword, now we have a sword for the feminine, right? The King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. Now both of them got swords. Like I said, they're meeting, they branch back out. One can become the king, the other can become the queen. Because of all of this stuff, like they didn't necessarily know why they were being guided down these paths. They didn't necessarily know why they were completing all the cycles that they completed. And they don't necessarily know why they kind of sort of both ended up in this Nine of Swords spot where they had this Six of Wands mentality, right? But after the moon comes the Six of Swords. And so I feel like they're both moving. And with this moon, like I feel like that's not the moon. With the moon, I feel like, there's this understanding that they needed to have. And so they're both moving. And they don't necessarily know where they're going, but they know that the waters are a lot calmer. And what awaits them at the calmer waters? The lovers. That's what they know they're heading for. The path is never known, no matter how intuitive or tapped in and spiritual you are. The path will never be completely made aware to you. Because if it was, I feel like it would violate the rules of something. There are certain inviolable rules that a certain faction, well, okay, maybe that's old energy. In an old energy, it seemed like the light faction would not violate that regardless. Like your whole life could be falling apart, but if you don't pray to God, God ain't moving. Like he'll be looking out and like you'll be protected, but he can't really come in and move unless you give him permission to move. But now, shoot, somebody might be like, you know what? It's time for us to start moving these pieces because things are getting out of hand down there. Things have been out of hand for a while. I mean, like if the light side starts to force pieces to move, things got to be bad. Things got to be real bad. All right, I got 8 minutes before I need to take this little break. I don't need to take this break, but I want to take this break. Who's left that? Ooh. I thought I picked up all the cards, but the Tower remains. And now at the bottom of the deck, the Four of Swords. Not moving will keep you in this tower. It's time to evacuate the building. So yeah, if that resonated, give me a like, give me a share, give me a comment, subscribe to my channel. Let me stop. Oh, it's 2, 3, 4. Oh, I can't wait until 5, 6. I hope I catch 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be awesome. I actually had a video that uploaded 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was alive, but after it was done, it cut it down. So, okay, I feel y'all. I feel somebody. It's resonating for somebody because somebody got a crew member that's in here like, yep. Let's see. Last card that pops out. I didn't get any pop outs. That was deep. Oh. All of my decks are betraying me. All my decks want to be like, oh, he reading love now? What? He ain't just putting us back in the deck now? What? He actually trying to interpret us now? What? Well, let me throw out the lovers. Let me throw out the man holding the heart and the woman holding the heart. Like, really, y'all just gonna betray me like that? See, that's why the wild unknown tarot will always be my number one. And once they switch on me, I miss 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, once they switch on me, I'm done. The Two of Cups came out, y'all. Followed by the Three of Wands. With the Two of Cups and the Three of Wands, this could be speaking to continuing something from the past. But I feel like this might be a little bit more of the recent past because this is the Three of Wands, right? And so the Three of Wands speaks to continuing something, but I feel like it's continuing something that you barely started. Or maybe it's like someone will show up as something completely different. So it's like, you thought you had started, but you didn't actually start because that person wasn't who they actually are. And maybe that person didn't even know how to be who they were. Or maybe they thought they were being who they were until things shook up on them. But then we also have this Three of Cups, right? And so look at this 33. I've been seeing 3 followed by 3 a lot. So this might be actually someone who is more of a friend than a lover, potentially. Because, right, like, what are you continuing? What are you moving? Like, what are you pushing forward? This friendship, right? This community. Or maybe it's just time for you to return to a community. After the Three of Cups, we have the Knight of Cups. Maybe return with the offer. Maybe give your little friend an offer. Shoot, your friend maybe worked hard. Let me stop. But yeah, I feel like this confirms what I was saying, right? Because now this offer is coming into this Three of Cups, right? So he's heading to the Three of Cups. He's writing into the Three of Cups. So maybe it could be someone that you weren't necessarily super intimate with. And I know some of the people on YouTube have said that if you've already, I don't know, who was it? Some people like to be like, if you've already like slept with your twin, it might not be your twin. I don't know. Each journey is different for every single person. Each dynamic is different, right? Just like there's different people, you have one unique person with another unique person that's going to create a unique relationship, and they have a unique purpose and a unique path to get there. And so, hey, this is just what's coming out for me. So maybe if you resonated a little bit with what was being said before, then this is a continuation of that. If you weren't resonating with that, then maybe this ain't for you either. But that's the sailing away. And like, look, what is he sailing to? He's sailing to this Knight of Cups, going to this Three Cups. It's like everything. Wait, where did Three of Wands go? There it is. It's like everything is heading to this Three of Cups. It's coming in for your Three of Cups. And last but not least is this Nine of Swords. Girl, stop thinking about it and just do it. Especially like if you already know, just do it. But the Six of Wands at the bottom of the deck, there's going to be a victory here. Like, come on. I don't want to rush nobody. I don't want to push nobody because I know it's difficult and I know it can be hard, especially if you feel like you did somebody dirty. But they also say that if it's a true whatever, I don't know. See, this is another reason why I don't like labels. Because honestly, it's so vast and so different. I guess it's just an umbrella term, and I guess I'm fine with umbrella terms. Miyoshi, I'm blue sky chromatic. Okay, I like my disorganized order and organized chaos. We ain't gotta put levels on everything. I'm blue clan. Come mess with Sky Clan. Let me stop. Just because you don't understand Sky Clan don't mean that. Shoot, I'm just playing. What's the last card? I just want one card, please. Okay, I'll take this one. I don't even know what it is, but you acted like you want to jump, so I'll let you jump. It's the Hierophant. Wow. And left on the bottom of the deck is the Chariot. Oof. Maybe this is another reason why somebody is taking, going off of what was being said. Okay, you know what? You're right, and that's why we can hold our different perspectives because we come from different clans. But just because we from different clans don't mean we can't get along, right? Right? Oh, you red and I'm blue. We ain't even going there. We ain't even going there. We ain't even going there. But wow, why do I feel like one of these love readers? But it almost seemed, we got two major arcanas. It almost seemed like somebody really want to come in quick with a commitment. With a commitment. Baby, you got the keys. So shut up and drive, 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 drive. I should end it like that. I should have ended the video like that. The heart needs to know where all this going before we send water to the lungs. Oh, you right. Because ain't nobody trying to drown. Going 0 to 60 in 3.5. Baby, you got the keys. Somebody trying to go like 0 to 120. They like, forget 0 to 60. Let's go 0 to 120. We working double time. We working overtime. Spirit got me working double time, working overtime. I know. Everybody know at this point, basically, shoot. Like, what we need to wait for? I could die tomorrow. And I don't want to die without being attached to you by name. So are you taking mine or am I taking yours? Because we only got one life. I mean, we have, if you like believe in like reincarnation and stuff, but in this incarnation with these suits, with these minds and bodies and lungs and blood and teeth and hair, we only got one. We only got one. Let me stop. So I'm gonna be coming back. It's already 10 o'clock. I'm late. Okay, I gotta go. I'm sorry. I will be back some point later today, going through the rest of these decks. So have fun. Enjoy your time off. Maybe charge your phone. Maybe not. I don't know. Thank you, Miyoshi and Clarinda, for being here and for stopping in. Thank you all for listening and coming in to try to get to know me. I appreciate that because I'm just a dude. Just the dude with not too much attitude, unless you trigger my Taurus moon and then my Cancer and Mars, which trines my sun in Pisces. And then that's a real easy gateway to Scorpio. So let me stop acting like I'm tough. I am tough, actually. I'm a lot tougher than I look. I have a whole tragic backstory that is just like, your dude used to be a fighter, but he ain't anymore. I'm a lover and a fighter, high key. I fight for what I love. My sun trines my Mars. My sun trines my Mars. Pisces and Cancer. I'm going to fight for my family. And Pisces is high key, like, Pisces is one of those signs that people don't suspect. But Pisces rules the 12th house. We rule the graveyard. So mess with us if you want to. If you want to, y'all worried about Arieses and Leos and Scorpios, not even looking at your Pisces best friend. Cross them wrong one time, just one time, and let them put you in your place.